Join us for an enlightening experience where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness by Barrett Kunyan.
Well, here we are again, and we have lovely Rick Jewers. Rick is a guardian of GPMS, and really honored to have you here in our studio, Rick. I just want to say, if I may, I mean, our hot topic discussion will be on the topic of changing the energetic past from this now moment. We've got a few slides that we will put out there in a minute, and about 2 days ago, Rick, I was really taken by what you put out there in terms of a very powerful, energetic message to the planet. So we are really honored, and we've put a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation, so our observers can get more into it. So let's just remind ourselves again what topic we're going to be on. So basically, it's changing the energetic past from this now moment. So, Rick, welcome. I mean, um, I felt it'd be great to actually we comprised that article that you put on your Facebook. So we've managed to bring it onto our show, which we're going to put now, place it on the screen. If you're okay, I'd be more than happy to read what it was that you put out there. So, for any that are feeling sensations, pain in the area of the body where you have had a past injury, you are to go back to the time of the injury and slightly prior to the change and extract the energy imprint you have left in that time, which was negative and fear based. You also wish to change that timeline to a more favorable and optimal period where you actually benefit from reality. The phantom pain from the past is to be understood as a time capsule accessible to you now for the very purpose of changing the past and replacing the memory of that time with a higher vibration. By connecting with the memory of that time, you are energetically there. You can begin to do your divine work there quickly at reconciling the past negative energetic imprint you left in that time to change this now. By changing the past and erasing the time and negative memory imprint, a different higher reality gets reflected for you now. For by changing the past favorable, it changes the now with an exponential effect from that past until now. If you were not awakened when the injury occurred, it does not matter. And you can populate that past with awakened codices and seed it then. That changes this now. This divine exercise and instruction has the full ability and capacity to create a reality shift of indefinite proportions depending upon the amount of input into this exercise. Your ability to transcend all times and space is active for you to accomplish this task to the divine regulated degree that it is allowed to change and uplift this present higher timeline we're currently residing upon. You will receive your confirmation on how much you changed your energetic imprint and impact on this now we with some Mandela effects. Well, Rick, I mean that really captivated me, and it has brought me to the awe and ecstasy for this calling to say, Rick, please let's dive into this more. So welcome, and in due course, I've presented some questions for you to dive into. But before we get there, thank you very much for your divine presence as always. And I will leave these questions up there one by one so that
Thank you,
viewers
brother,
can.
having me here.
Thank you. Can-
And there may be a little lag in this when in the show, but yeah, thank you for having I here and to expand upon this very important current divine topic and one of the, let's say, one of the powerful things for the individual to do to change the past, which gets reflected into this now. So, and really, what I'm speaking about here, this has been known to at least some degree by the scientific, military, psychological communities with this, because what we're actually dealing with here is the gifts of humanity in the least of their parapsychological abilities with the ESP, if you will. So
Yeah.
this is it, but with this, it goes beyond that. It adds a little bit more to it, and but also on the individual basis, the know-how, if you will, and some more of the instructions uh, to not only clean up for themselves as they clean up the energetic past for themselves. It and we have many doing this. It gets reflected into this now. Everything is energy, and part of doing the energetic work as everyone goes forward. The process of transmuting energy is taking it from a negative and essentially putting it to a positive. But where all of reality is also has a charge, it is not constantly neutral. Any past effects, when you have this ability to go into the past and change the polarity of the past, it gets affected into the now. Because again, known one of the known things, if you will, with the awakened and ascending community is that they know we are not constant in time, and you can get your own examples of that in your daily life when you get introduced to that aspect. It's to let you know that you are not constant in time, and this also adds to this ability. But I'll stop there without rambling on because I love your prepared questions.
Thank you, brother. I mean, so yeah, basically, I think you more or less answered. How do you interpret the concept of revisiting and altering past injuries or negative experiences? So, if we look at, have you applied, Rick? Have you applied similar practices in your life to address past traumas or pain that maybe you'd like to share something with our viewers? Um,
Yeah, absolutely. Barrett, if I may, though, can you go back to the preceding
of
question?
course,
And because I wish
absolutely.
to elaborate just a little bit more on that before we go to this one. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, in your question here, you're asking, how do I interpret the concept of revisiting and altering past injuries or negative experiences? So again, what I wish to add with this is that ones are familiar at least with the remote viewing ability with your consciousness, where you can remote view. You could lay in your bed and with your consciousness, if you will, go to Africa. So that shows that you're not your consciousness is not restricted to time because you have this remote viewing ability. But this remote viewing ability to such a degree, everyone that is awakening and is ascending has it activated to at least some degree. So this is what you utilize more or less. But what you in this divine operation, this exercise, what you do is you transcend time, that you don't remain in this linear time in view a place. You actually can use your remote viewing to go back in time, to go forward in time. That is divinely regulated. Only to a little degree, and there's divine reasons for that. But at this time, it's divinely set up that, as it says in the post, we can go back to about 20 years so that we begin to correct the energetic imprint from there. So it gets reflected in this now and uplifts this now. So the concept of doing it. Um, what I need to say, so let's say if you broke your wrist in the past 20 years ago, uh, if you get a phantom pain that comes up now that you didn't have for, let's say, 15 years, but all of a sudden that pain comes there. Well, what it is, this pain is an energy. So you go into this energy and the attached memory of when you broke your wrist 20 years ago, if you will.
Yeah.
And what you do is you take yourself back to that time. So there is a roadmap energetically and with the consciousness that you follow to through your memory of that injury to take you right back to that time. And once you're back to that time, let's say when the accident occurred, then you go slightly before when it occurred, and you can also begin to change your timeline that you did something different, that it didn't occur. But in this, and that is out in the post I put out just yesterday, that's the advance. But nevertheless, let's go back to this post. Uh, so with this post, what you actually do is you go into the pain that you had when you broke your wrist at that time, because you can remember the pain, if you will. So by X, and what you have now is a facsimile in this now that is associated to that past. So you have the example to follow to take you to that pain, which was more intense in the past. And then once you are there, you remember how you acted. If you perhaps curse and swore, and if you generated a lot of vile, a lot of negativity and fear and agony out into your energetic environment, that is negative. So, what you wish to do is to change that. And the best way, as I just said a bit ago, the best way to do it is go before the accident occurred and erase that you never had the accident. But also, what you can do is this negative energy that come from your wrist, for example, uh, that negative energy was never reconciled. Energy is never destroyed. And it's the polarity of that energy that you hurt your wrist 20 years ago. That energy is still existing today because you never transmuted it. So it's part of a residue from your past contribution to reality. Now, when you look at this as a whole blanket of negativity that is attached to the fear spectrum, and which is all lower density, it acts as an anchoring agent to keep you in the dimensional realm where fear and pain and all of this resides. But by cutting the cords and reconciling this fear from the past that is still here now, what you do, it's like a blanket that then has to vanish, and you rise into the positive higher reality where density is not at. Now, with each, this is a process. With each, it'll take a period of time because there are determining factors on how powerful you are at doing it. So there is the customized individual experience because of these factors. But the overall thing is, it does work, and this is why we're doing it, and we're beginning to access it. Because guess what? When we take all of the past residue of negativity that we deposited to this now, we go forward into the new higher vibrational world. I'll stop there. Thank you.
Really appreciate that. Thank you. So, have you applied similar practices in your own life to
Now,
address, yeah, traumas or pain?
yes, absolutely. I do it even yet today when I need to do it. But what I also need to say at the same time, there are times, even though I can do it fully, that it's not divinely approved, that it has, let me say, for example, I had a sore leg that come out. It was divinely sent, if you will, that kept me down, unable to move for a bit. And even though I can clear this myself and make it vanish, it come back because it was also for divine reasons to ensure that I did not move or do something else. But let me say with this, instantly and consciously, by using this, yes, if there is an infliction of pain, I can instantly eradicate it if it's divinely approved. But overall, with who and what I am, I do not experience any of these um, encumbersome pains to any degree, unless, like most currently, I had to go into the experience because I'm a teacher, to know what it's about and to know what will work for us at this time so I can purvey it out to others as well.
Oh,
So yes, I do, and I can, but again, there's what I call the overall divine regulation, meaning that it is not, to my knowledge, at least now, and I wish it was, that everyone could instantly heal themselves of all infliction and pain, which would be
yes.
great. However, this is one of the steps into doing that. And if you wish to look at each individual with your co-creator powers and the knowledge of how to use it, you actually become your own medbed quickly through your transformation at healing yourself.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Um, can you describe an instance where you
You're
felt,
welcome, brother.
can you describe an instant where you felt a phantom pain from the past and how you approached it from a transformative perspective?
Yeah, excellent. And what I will say with this one, and I could see how it was divinely set up for to use it as an example for the show. So with this one, what I wish to say is when I was human and very young with this body, my shoulder came a arthritic pain, but I was only about 23 or something, and it lasted for several years. And poof, I got rid of it. Never had it since until about a week ago, and then it come back. So then it was a phantom pain because I didn't hurt my shoulder or anything. And I recognized it from the past. So, what I did, I was laying in bed. And what I do is I lay down and I go into, that meditative conscious state that you're fully relaxed, fully peaceful, that when you're laying on the bed, you're not got any pressure, you're not stressed. And if you lay very still and peaceful, you will not even feel your body touching the bed. So it's
Yeah.
when you're in that state that you're
Yeah.
fully, completely relaxed, that in the brain state, you actually change and go more towards the theta. It's more aligned with the theta sleep patterns. And, it's that trail that you followed before the REM sleep, the REM sleep. But with this, it's before you get there because you're still conscious of what you're doing, and you need to be conscious because you're energetically, surgically working upon yourself, but you're doing it energetic. So with this, you put yourself in that absolute peaceful state. You go into your consciousness. You bring up the tools that you wish to get rid of the pain, if you will, and with your intent very quickly. Your intent is already there assigned with what you're going to do to the pain. So you don't need to be make it complicated. The intent is already there. So if you just go in to that pain, you already have the program imprinted into your consciousness from doing and practicing it before and knowing that it works. And you also have the trust instilled into that practice. And the more trust and belief you have in it, the more instantaneous it becomes. So, what you do as well, another part is to know that any pain or discomfort with it has negative ions, it has a negative spin in the energy. So you, as being a co-creator and connected to energy to that extent, you can alchemize the polarity, if you will, and reconcile it to positive. So once you do this with your consciousness and change the molecular spin of the negative field, you change it to positive, then it is compatible with your intention and with your good desire, and then it eliminates it and it becomes part of you, if you will. Now, this
Yes.
is one way to do it and to keep it as simple as I could, and I hope it was, pretty much self-explanatory with how to do it. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, and how
Yes.
you approached it from a transformative perspective, and yeah, this is how you transform it, if you will. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Um, Connecting with memories allows for energetic changes in the present. How do you perceive the relationship between memory and present reality in your own experiences? So,
Can you hear me well? All
yes,
right,
all good.
excellent. Yeah, yeah. So your memory is the actual access point that takes you, allows you to go in to the time, if you will. You with your memory, you can go back, for example, to your childhood, and really consciously, you are energetically there. You are back there, right in that moment, and by acknowledging it now, you can also begin, let's say, even to materialize. This is coming in the future back into
Yeah.
that past. Because again, remember, this is by location. So not only can we bilocate in real time, we also can bilocate into the past and somewhat marginally into the future. But that's only for divine, very important divine reasons that we're allowed to do that yet. So the memory is one of the keys how to get back there. It's a pathway, it's a roadway. And you asked, how do you perceive the relationship between memory and present reality in your own experiences? Well, again, every memory that you have now is an actual pathway, a direct road back to that past. So, what we do in this time of ascension, also, we wish to eliminate invaluable, unbeneficial memories as well. And one of the reasons you want to eliminate those out of the consciousness, but most of this happens organically from the soul level. When you begin to forget things, it's this process that's happening organically, because that whatever you forgot, it doesn't have any benefit to your now and to your future. So it's being replaced, it's taken out of the mix because you are a conscious co creator. And if you have a memory of the past, if you will, that has agony in it, and if you still have that in you going forward, as a conscious co creator, you'd be populating the future with agony. So it makes perfect sense that you do what we call the inner work and that you lose these memories that you don't want to contaminate the future with. So everything is done in the now, and the more you get done with that, then you're able to raise more into the higher vibration and the cleaner, positive future. So, memory is important. Let me see, between memory and present reality in my experiences. And what I need to say in relation to this, for my experiences, I don't tend to go into the past unless I'm divinely required to, such as in this exercise speaking about today. So I was divinely required to go back into it. But one of the reasons that I don't wish to go back into the past, because you have to look at the timeline is always raising. So you're going with the timeline. But if you go back into the past, you're on a lower density reality. And you really don't want to do this. You want to keep optimal in the now with the open mind and the focus and sights on going into the reality that you want, with just love, peace, harmony, and positivity. And we keep going forward even beyond that. But you don't wish to visit too much of the past unless it's divinely necessary to do it, to advance you forward. And that is the case with this. What we're doing is we're visiting the past, we're taking some of those anchors out of there, we're changing the polarity of what we deposited in the past so that it doesn't exist. And this allows us, whew, to go up higher because that negative imprint is no longer there. Now, with energy, you have what I like to call dark assemblages of energy, which are masses of energy that you can see even as black clouds. And many has this gift to see the actual dense energies at times, but I won't go into that. So, yeah, present reality. So this is a little bit of how I utilize it if I need to, but I like to keep in the now and going forward. Excellent
Thank,
question.
thank you. Thank you. Next question. In terms of altering past events to create a favorable present, What practices do you employ to ensure these changes are positive and beneficial?
Well, essentially, as the example, when you go into the past, just turn everything positive, as you can. And with your trust of what you're doing, you don't need to complicate it by making it beneficial. Just by making it positive, it will pick up its own positive, if you will, to follow its own creation commands. So you just need to set the polarity for what you wish for it to attract and be in alignment with. So in this case, positivity, which goes outward, negativity implodes downward. So you just need to essentially change the molecular polarity, and the rest will work for you. It will go the energy where it needs to go to begin to create more favorable events. And this sets up, if you will, for the Mandela effect that we'll speak about later. And but I need to point it out now
Yeah,
because it is one of the confirmations that you have actually changed the past, and rightfully so with this, because we're going into an unprecedented but clean new future. And to accommodate that, the past timelines must change. And things that are written on your computer, they'll vanish. Something you have in your house may vanish. And with the Mandela effect, you might have read the newspaper, let's say an hour ago, and you heard about a car accident right in your village. But you may, that happened the day before. But then you might pick that same paper up and look at it an hour later, and you won't even see any mention of that there, that it has vanished. Well, what this is a prime example of
yeah,
how the timeline has changed, if you will,
yeah,
just to use that. And what is very beautiful is in many of the movies and shows that were on TV. All of this is very real, and also it was in part orchestrated to have ones at least introduced and familiar with the possibility of this to change time, if you will. But in reality, time travel has been intentionally used upon the planet since 1895, but we don't need to get
yeah.
into that. So, yeah, so that answered that question.
Thank you.
Uh,
Can I just throw something?
Excellent.
Thank you, Rick. Fukushima. I mean, in your humble opinion, what do you feel happened? I mean, I remember that could be a Mandela effect because the stuff they were putting out there, they were saying it's completely out of control. It was like going to get a vast percentage of the world's population, and then suddenly everything was hunky dory. You don't hear anything anymore, as if it never happened, almost like, from that trauma of an explosion, and it's leaking and they can't stop it, and it's despair, and then suddenly it vanished. That's like on the Mandela level, isn't it, would you say? Or
Absolutely. I love this. And what we also need to appreciate and include into our overall ascension is that there are so many divine teams and groups, if you will, of co creators that are upon the planet that are changing things in the timelines as well. So it's not, it's many that are doing this. And with the Fukushima, you're correct, and I love that. And I also know that in the past, I was divinely and others told that we would go in, clean the oceans up from the radioactive residue, and we have done that to some degree. But also, what's important, when that happened however many years ago now, perhaps a dozen, I just forget, or 10. But what happens is when the focus is also not on it in the now, that yeah, it'll begin to fade, somewhat from the timeline, and from the history of the timeline. And this is an example to the degree of, see, when everyone don't think of it, it really cannot exist and it's not part of history. But if it's refreshed and brought up, as an example, what we're doing now, but this will have no effect. This is for, training and teaching purposes. But by recognizing and acknowledging it and having it in the consciousness, you can bring remnants of that up. But yes, we have, as you said, back then. Also, what we need to look at here is that there is an actual darkness upon the planet. So, in the past, when you have any of these fear events, a lot of fear is propagated by the darkness in the press, to get the co creators into tricking them more, that it is, let's say, very hazardous for the planet. But at the same time, you have the other ones that knows of the tricks
Yeah.
of the darkness, and they are not energizing it. They're actually working on, taking that fear element out of it. That does make it begin to implode and vanish, if you will.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. How do you understand and practice the concept of awakened codices in past injuries or negative experiences?
Well, with this, one of the best things to do is, first with any energetic work you are doing, it's important to activate the intent. You already have the good intent is always there. You're acting out of your heart. So that good intent, it's already a positive intent. You don't need to change that. So with this good intent, is what you do is you say, okay, what I wish to apply is the awakening seeds, if you will, of the consciousness with this. And the awakened codices consists, that's why it's not just one awakened codex, which is similar, singular. It is many. The awakening codices are many, because as you rise up, more and more codices come in to advance ones to the next level. And essentially, the codices are information streams with knowledge on them. So, what you're able to do, again, you are in this present state with a knowledge that you didn't have 20 years ago. So when you are going back now to 20 years ago, not only are you changing the polarity of the energy there, you also are able to deposit the awakened codices into that energy as well, because you are a co creator that transcends all time and space. And in this procedure, you are allowed to reprogram the molecular structure of that past. And what you are doing is divinely beneficial with good intent. So you're going to deposit whatever you wish in there. For example, instead of you breaking your wrist, what you actually did, you were joyous that day and met other people, went and did something. You never had the wrist injury, and instead you were meeting in happiness and joy, and planting the seeds for the awakening, if you will. So what we're able to do now is, with that, you go back in time and you begin to populate the past with these positive seeds. You will have uh, the timeline has to change to reflect a different past. And this is what we're doing. But we're also upscaling and stepping it to this reality, to the level where it is still possible that many humans out there, human souls, that even though they may not awaken uh, consciously, they may in a reality in a day or two where they'll think it always was good. And this is where that possibility comes from as well.
Thank you very much for that.
So this is what we're doing. Yeah,
Brilliant. The
awesome, brother.
idea, thank you. The idea of a reality shift through this divine exercise is intriguing. Can you share your thoughts on how personal transformation can lead to a broader changes in one's reality?
Yeah, one's reality. Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me, Barrett?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and with this excellent question, the last question I began to touch on it to lead into this, with the reality shift. Now, on the individual level, and we also at the same time need to know the collective consciousness. We're all connected, if you will, with that network. So, what occurs on the individual level once you do this procedure, and give it a few days or more, but be aware of any confirmations that are connected to what you have done, because the confirmations, by you seeing them, it's an actual experience, and it makes and it integrates more into the consciousness. It has more the impact on you knowing that it's real, and through that outside confirmation, it instills the trust and the belief and the knowing that it's real. And with that trust of knowing that you can, yes, you can change the past and change the future in the ways that you want to, in good ways, then by each individual through their confirmations and instilling the trust, yet collected or connected to the collective consciousness, there's also others doing it. And this is what causes, with that trust, then it causes the upward shift. And this is where it's undetermined how quick we can shift. As I said, it is very possible to shift that you wake up in the morning and your whole reality has changed favorably, and that everyone did. And, that there could be the reality where there never was any world wars, if you will. It never happened because you don't want these negative fear memories. So, with this, uh, can lead. Yeah, so you'll see it begin not only in your outside reality. If you stop for a moment after you did it and feel your own energy, you will feel the difference in your energy. And you and I spoke a little bit about this last night, Barrett, that you should feel uplifted. So at least something changed, even though you may not know what. But this is your first indication after doing that, that not only did you change your outside reality and the present, but you also changed and strengthened your energetic field by instilling more trust in it, which is purity, more higher virtuous uh, acts and reactions and knowing. that, and what this does, it strengthens you, and it also gets reflected out into your reality on a micro level, but it's also connected to the macro level. How you doing? And got a little fairy coming here. So with this, it's yeah, and there we go. And I believe I answered that pretty
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
We've got, after this, two more questions. And the concept of transcending time and space is central to this exercise. How do you relate to this idea in your daily life, and what practices do you use to connect with different points in time?
Excellent question. I am on, let's say, divine automatic. So it's a little bit different with I. To transcend space and time, it occurs organically without me needing to do it, because it's what I divinely am, that it's automatic that if I need to be repositioned in space or time, it's done for I, but also individually. And this is when one's incur time loss or gain at the soul level in your connection to the overall divine plan. There are times you'll be changed in time and space, and you'll be from the human consciousness. You will not know that it occurred. But in retrospect and in reflection afterwards, when you know you have a period of time missing or what have you, then you know at least something occurred. So it mostly happens, if you will, on on the organic automatic level. But with this, I don't tend to practice this in the daily life because, again, it's automatic and it's in conjunction with my divine role that I am to play here, that I don't need to plan out from a human perspective what I'm going to be doing, because I know I am working here divinely, and what I need to be doing, it will divinely be presented to I. So, what I don't do right in this now, because we're also advancing reality forward, that there are things divinely governed what you can do and what you cannot do. But with the complete trust, you are in the now moment and aware at what is out there that may be your divine prompts, if you will, to take you forward. So again, for the practices that I used to connect with different points in time, it is the consciousness and the heart as a combined navigational and instruction unit. And then we utilize the consciousness, if you will, to travel when I may need to do that. We do a lot of energetic work, and with this also, Femke and I, we use our consciousness to do things, and sometimes we do need to transcend a little bit of time and always space when we do this, but also time. So there are times that energetic work we do is actually not being done in the now. Also, there are lots of times that we do our energetic work in the future to allow reality to evolve toward it. So when we consciously go into the future as co-creators to create this good space, but this is what all are doing, and then we come back to this present reality. And we only do this when we're divinely instructed to do these energetic missions that involve going into the future somewhat, to preparing the space, for the overall ascension to evolve into. And I know this may sound grandiose to some and perhaps egotistical, but it is the truth, and nothing. It doesn't matter what others will think with this. I am purveying and sharing the higher truth in what we actually do, even though it may be so surreal or incomprehensible. It doesn't matter for those that don't get it. What it does matter for is those that it resonates with and gets it, because that means it's part of what they're also doing. Femke and I are not the only co creators upon the planet that is doing these things. As I said before, there's about, if you want to put a number on it, about 4.83 million of us that are divinely designated to evolve this whole reality forward. And you have teams and groups that are all doing different things, but it all converges to the one thing. So even though we don't know each other with all the integral parts and the groups, we know that we're all interconnected and we're all working towards the same goal.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you ever experienced what you would describe as a Mandela effect in your life? And if so, how do you think it relates to changing your energetic imprint on the past?
Yes, the Mandela effect, if you will, the Mandela effect itself in my human life, I experienced that. I was one of those that said that Mandela had died, and then what? He's alive. But to go into that Mandela effect, what I come to find out later, that was more so the press at that time. They were afraid of the freedom movement in Africa. So by saying to the rest of the world that Mandela had died, if you will, it quelled the support from the outside world. So what the press actually did was perpetrated a worldwide lie so that they could suppress the uprising, when then actually later it was found out no, he did not die, that he was in prison and what have you. And with this, I had connected directly with one of the ladies, I forget her name, that ran one of the presses right down there, one of the little newspapers or what have you. And she had assisted Nelson Mandela's family and also the indigenous people in their freedom there. So I also had a direct more information of what actually occurred with that. But I'm getting a little bit off track. Another one, what I love to use is a Dolly the sheep, the clone.
Ah,
With
yeah.
it had occurred in 1972. So when I need to go and put the truth out about this, just a couple months ago, I wanted to reference it again with a post. To my amazement, when I went to look for 1972 with Dolly, there was nothing there. It was in 1996. And and the post we put out was interesting because I said, to my knowledge, it was 1972. I remembered that when they first cloned, you know. And with that, there were others that come on. Yes, they remembered that date as well. But, overall, it's showing, yes, we are changing history to some extent. But of course, the meddling with the darkness, with propaganda and what is put out there. One needs to be meticulous with the discernment with these things as well, because there is that uh, interference with some written things. So it's better with the Mandela effect is in your own reality to do it. If you're in a certain place and there was a small tree, uh, let's say you had a field out front of your place where you were at, and let's say you had looked at it, many times that you just moved there, but then one time you look out and you see this small tree, but you say that wasn't there before, and it just appeared, if you will, and vice versa. Things can just vanish. So these are Mandela effects, but they are real confirmations that you experience. And with this, let me say, I'm laughing with this because where Femke and I currently are at, it's very energized here where things are vanishing and some are reappearing on their own because we're jumping in timelines in realities, but it's very elevated like that here. And I need to just touch more. It's very important for ones when you're calling ones gaslighters or narcissists. What I strongly recommend, don't use those words and don't think that that's what's occurring because you could be mistaken and bearing false witness, if you will, against your partner that they're gaslighting when they're not doing that at all. What's actually occurring is you're not constant in time. And if you're losing things or seeing things differently, you need to be neutral and open minded and not project a blame because you could actually be on timelines where things are totally different if you're jumping back and forth. So, so yeah,
Mhm.
with the Mandela, I love this one. One time I was with the Mandela effect. This is very important. This one, I'll share it quickly. I was on the side of a mountain uh, picking pine mushrooms in British Columbia. So I was on the east side of a mountain and walking northward. And on a shelf, I had found some mushrooms. So I was only halfway up the mountain, and I found some on a shelf, and I picked them. I continued to walk in this direction for about another kilometer, and I saw another shelf coming, and I said, "That's a good place for mushrooms." So when I walked out on the shelf, what I had found is that someone else was here picking mushrooms. But then when I began to look around, I had realized it was the same place that I was at back here. Even though I kept going straight forward, I had come back here, if you will. And it was very interesting experience. But also, we're dealing with time again. It's not constant, and with the particle accelerators and cyclotrons upon the planet and speeding up particles, if you will, the particle accelerators. It even if it's in a containment field, it doesn't matter because you're looking at creator particles that has the effect on the outside world, and these will cause distortions and rifts in the space-time continuum. And part of what I was doing on my own several years ago was repairing these rifts because they needed to be repaired to hold this reality with the firmament, the purple firmament, to hold this reality intact. And for simple reasons, if these rifts were left open, it was causing too much distortion upon the planet, where you had during those periods perhaps ones that were going into the forest to hunt or gather mushrooms, they would become lost. A prime example of this, a greater example, is one skier. I believe he was in the Adirondacks on the east side of the USA. He was skiing up on a mountain and he got into a rift. He didn't know what occurred, but he appeared on the west side of on the west side of North America, the U.S. I think a week or so later, bewildered and not knowing what occurred. But he had entered one of these distortions in the space-time continuum, and I won't go any further in that. I'm getting off topic here. So
Nice.
I think I answered that one.
Thank you very much. Last question, if I may. In your own perspective, what role does intention play in successfully altering past events and their impact on the present? And how do you cultivate the right mindset for such exercises?
Well, with anything, what we always do, intention is the necessary ingredient, because the intention is the instruction, the access to the energy, and it's also the command. So you need the intention, and usually the intention is refreshed in the consciousness, and then let's say put into the heart space, and then combine the heart and the consciousness with this overall intent, and the intent is exercised through the consciousness. So you have the combination, if you will, from the spark of the soul, which is the divine light, that gives it the access codes, the intention to do and work with the energy. And of course, it's always positive. Anyone that's full of fear, they're unable to access these codes to the degree that they can actually change reality and creation for others. They can manifest things, but it's only for their self, and it would be negative for their own experiences, or it will also be positive once they have risen above enough of the fear to know that they are manifesting, because then they need the experience to be a confirmation that they can and that they do actually manifest. And then that progresses them into more of their co creator power and understanding of how it works. So the intention is very important. And of course, with your co creator ability, if you're not pure in heart, if you will, to the utmost degree that you can be, with all of the virtues and embodiment of that, well, you're not doing anything on reality, because it's divinely governed that you don't with this, because we're changing this reality to a positive place. And if you've got fear in you, you'd only be contaminating things that you're doing, and that's not where we're going. We are actually purifying the place, so you don't do the opposite. So let me look at this again. What role does intention play in successfully altering past events and their impact on the present? And how do you cultivate the right mindset for such exercises? I think for the most part, I answered that. And, with this, when you don't need to complicate what type of a future it will be. You don't need to fill in the details. Your trust allows it to be what is divinely allowed to be, if you will. So it's important your intent is good. You don't need to build and construct what will happen as a result of your good intentions. You trust, you allow, and let it to be, and to be a part of the good creation. It has the commands from your intention that you may not be fully conscious of, that fits it where it needs to go, into the place of all things.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed this, Rick. It's been very empowering, and it has certainly raised my game once again. It's going up higher and higher each time we have this wonderful connections. So I thank you profusely for your divine presence once again. I mean, we've just passed the hour now, and I was thinking, shall we just begin to kind of wrap it up? It's been maybe for some fairly intense, but I found it really stimulating as ever. So thank you so much. Do you want to add
Thank you. Were
anything?
you able?
Yes. There's a slight delay sometimes, but
No,
yeah,
I'm just curious. Were you able to hear me fluently? Did I freeze or
perfect.
anything, or
Oh,
was it good and fluent
it
and
was
consistent?
clear. It was fantastic. I'm really happy. Very happy. So
Mm,
it's been an honor, and
excellent.
I would love to
The
invite you.
only the only thing I
Yeah.
will share is, we're doing all. Oh no, please go ahead. There's a little bit of a lag. Go ahead. I'll listen.
No, that's what I was going to say. I'm sure I'm going to find other treasures on your Facebook, and um, uh, time permitted, because I know your schedule. But maybe we can invite you back again in the foreseeable future, and we can do question Q&A, and I love it. It's wonderful way of raising the vibration of the planet. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly, Bert. Yeah, and I love your show and your introduction. It's so perfect for what we're doing, and gives me the platform as well to purvey it out there in the environment. So, yeah, it's very excellent, and I'm so grateful for that. So, yeah, we're creating the new world we're going into, and one step of this is the GPMS dot world, that is the new reality that liberates humanity and puts them into full abundance. And that's only the next step in this ascension.
absolutely,
And we keep going forward into unprecedented reality and experience, but all
absolutely.
good, all beneficial.
Yes, thank you very much. And so that's a mug we made not that long ago, and in honor of GPMS.world. And we've been
Perfect. And that's the
promoting it
website,
here.
yeah, to visit.
So we've done our leaflet distribution here in Bulgaria as well, both sides. One in Bulgarian and this side in English, because we've got a lot of expats living here as well, so they can benefit in case they're not very polished in the language. So Rick, it's been fantastic as ever. Thank you so much for your beautiful presence, and sending love to Romania as well, and gratitude. And no doubt we'll see each other very soon. So take care for now. There's a slight delay though, but
With this, brother, we got a little bit, yeah,
yeah,
we got a little
yeah.
bit of a lag, but with this, I'm fine. Let's wrap this one up, and much love to you and everyone, and light and gratitude. And
Thank you.
namaste. And of course, peace is so important,
Peace.
without and within. So, with that,
Take,
brother, thank you, and thank you all the viewers, and that's good.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunian's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and